Hi everyone, it's me, Spring, the fiber enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. Today is going to be a knitting tutorial, and we're going to discuss a particular stitch that I recently, well not recently, but I have done a tutorial on in the flat. And it's called the Bedjacket stitch. And one of the viewers asked if I would do it in the round. Well, you can do it in the round, and I will show you how. So here it is in the flat, and I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of get a better look as we discuss this particular stitch itself. Okay, so the Bedjacket stitch is using two different size needles. And when you're doing it in the flat, you purl with the largest needle and then knit on the front side of the work with the smaller needle. So if you look here, we'll look at one particular row here. Let me get something smaller to use to point at. So here we have the small needle, which is a smaller stitch. Then we have a large stitch, a small stitch, large stitch, and again, small stitch, large stitch, small stitch. So all you're doing is going back and forth between a larger needle and a smaller needle, purling with one and knitting with the other, flipping your work back and forth. So if we turn this over and you look at the purl side, as you can see, the purl bumps are all on this side. There are no knitted stitches on this side. But again, you can still see the size difference in those purl bumps. That's rather large, that's small, this is rather large. So if we're talking about the stitch and how to get it in the round, when we're talking about the fact that we're working with two different size needles and this tutorial was done in the flat. Okay, well, all we were doing was knit, purl. So knit one side, purl the wrong side. A purl stitch, it is a reverse knit, is what it is. So when you turn your work over to the right side, it looks like a knitted stitch. So if I was to grab my smaller needle and knit this row, if I can get in the stitch right, there we are. So we're going to just knit this row here, and I'm just going to do a few stitches so that way you can see. So we're just knitting, and say I'm done with that row, and I'm going to turn it over, and the next row is to purl. So here's my bigger needle, and I'm going to purl back across the row. Now mind you, I did not go all the way to the end, we're just doing a few stitches. So I'm just going to purl those stitches. Well, all I'm doing is creating a knit stitch on the opposite side by purling. All right, we're to the end of that. I'm going to drop the smaller needle, turn this over, and we'll take a look at those stitches that I just made. And you see, it's still knitted. Even though we purled, when you look at the right side, it's just a knit stitch. So taking something like this and putting it in the round makes it very, very simple to adjust, because when you work in the round and you want that same type of stitch where you're doing a stockinette, where knitting is all on the same side, there are no purl stitches, you're just knitting around and around and around. So to get the same concept of having the larger stitch and the smaller stitch, you're going to need 2 sized circular needles, or if you're doing magic loop, you can do this with however you choose to do your circle of work. So in the round, if you're using DPNs, whatever. So I went ahead and intentionally made the white my bigger needle and the red my smaller needle. That's going to help me with keeping up with which ones were which, so that way I could show them to you and you could see them straight away. So my last round was done in the smaller of the 2 needle sizes. Now I'm going to knit around in the white. So this would be considered the purl round, being the larger needle. So as I said, a purl is just a reverse knit. So we're just going to knit. So we're going to knit 1 full round from the small needles onto the big needles. Once I have reached the end of the round, I will come back and we will talk about the smaller needle. Okay, so I've made it all the way around onto my larger circular needle. So this is what I'm using. I'm using 2 exactly the same size circular needles with 2 different size actual needles. So the length of them are the same, but this is a 6.5 millimeter for my small. And for the larger one, it is a 10 millimeter. So now we're going to go back, and all I'm doing is knitting off of this circular onto this one. And then when I go back to the next row or next round, I will do the same thing. I will knit off the small one onto the large one. So here we go, gonna slide that up, and now we would be doing the smaller stitch, so the knit side of the fabric. If you were working it in the flat, it would be the knit side, and we're just gonna knit this round. So I'm knitting 1 full round onto the small and 1 full round on the large, and gonna continue to work that until I have the desired amount of stitches for whatever fabric pattern that I'm working up. So there you can see the white stitches are slightly larger than the red stitches. And that is the Bedjacket stitch in the round. Now I will put a card for the Bedjacket stitch in the flat tutorial that I did in one of the corners up here. And if you have any other questions about the Bedjacket stitch, please comment down below and I will do my best to help you. It's pretty straightforward to convert the stitch from flat to in the round, and it gives you a really neat effect of larger stitches and smaller stitches. As I said, you are going to knit every single round. Unlike when you do it in the flat, you have your purl side, the wrong side, and knit side, the right side. When you're working in the round, all of it is going to be knit. The only difference is you need to keep up with which row you're on and what size needle you're working with. So here we have, I'm finishing up the larger needle here, coming off the larger needle, just knitting every single stitch. And then I'll be ready to switch over and begin with the larger needle, knitting onto it. So 1 round is large stitches, and 1 round is your standard size stitch. And for the dramatic of the stitch would depend on the size difference between the 2 needles that you chose to use. As you can see from looking at these 2, there is quite a difference in size. Okay, so now I just finished the red. I'm going to pick up the white and start knitting onto the larger needle. Just like such. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today on converting the Bedjacket stitch from the flat to working it in the round. Again, thank you for asking for this demonstration to that particular viewer. Be blessed, be a blessing, and until next time, bye for now.